Hey guys, welcome to our newest, the first of the year episode of Yomo, and Happy New Year to everybody. Today we're on Reflection 180, and we want to talk about the other mind. So I'd like Chris to tell you what other minds are and what he means by that
Yeah, I think you actually brought this book up a couple
before.
weeks back, actually. Yeah.
Well, it's the last one, and we were talking about the gut.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, this is a really interesting book. It's called Other Minds, The Octopus, the Sea, and the Deep Origins of Consciousness by the author Peter Godfrey Smith. So, this book's about octopuses and other cephalopods, like, was it scuttlefish? Or
Cuttlefish?
what are the other? Shuttlefish? Is that? It's cuttlefish, and squid. They're pretty interesting creatures, and apparently, they may have consciousness. And this book talks about the evolution of the tree of life, basically, and how we're all on the same tree of life and all connected, but just gone to different branches, and we all started from the same stuff, and evolution just evolved things in certain other ways. And it's probably just a good time to jump into the reflection, because part of this reflection is me learning about this kind of stuff in general. And the reflection title is Open Your Eyes to the World Around You. And for me, this, but obviously maybe anybody tuning in doesn't know this. There was a couple good friends that I have named James and James, both of them named James. A few years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago now, decided we wanted to, these are like two of the smartest people that I know. They're like just incredibly intelligent people, like really deep, insightful people. They're actually fraternity brothers of mine in college near me, and I don't know, somebody you just instantly connect with, and it's always really fun conversations. They're just really intelligent people, right? You can have a conversation about anything and they're going to have good insights about it. Always an entertaining conversation. Every time that we get together, we decided it'd be fun to sit down and record it and maybe try to turn it into a podcast. The best part about all these conversations is every time that we sit down and talk, it's always about a completely stupid, arbitrary topics none of us really know anything about, but we have strong opinions and we want to have a good conversation, explore, ask a lot of questions and all that other good stuff. Well, eventually it always divulges into like somebody getting a little bit too heated, and you end up going like, dude, why are you yelling? Like, just like, it's okay. This is not important, like, so we decided we wanted to call the podcast, Why Are You Yelling? So we actually have tried to record it. We've recorded it many, many times. We have like probably, I don't know, 30 hours of recordings, but we'll probably never turn it into a podcast. And honestly, it's probably for the best. But anyway, the reason why I'm even bringing this up is on one of these recording sessions, James Baker, one of the Jameses, had mentioned about octopuses having consciousness. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And he was like, yeah, check it out. Like, he was asking about the ethical implications of like killing an octopus or something like that. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He goes, go on the internet, go check it out. Like, the octopuses have like consciousness. Like, they can think, they can do stuff, they can have thoughts about thoughts, or at least that's what people think. And this is about 5 months into the Yomo journey of when conversation was happening. And at that point in time, I had only really focused on understanding humanity and understanding myself and understanding grief and a lot of the stuff that I was going through with Amelia. So I was really focused on humans and on how we think and how we process stuff and our emotions and things like that. I really hadn't started to branch out on this journey yet to other minds, really. When he said this that night, I immediately was like, okay, let me go explore that, because this is the year of magical learning. I'm curious. I want to learn. So I ended up going on Amazon and trying to find the first book that sounded interesting about octopuses to confirm what he was talking about and learn more myself. And this is what I settled on, right? So what I ended up learning was octopuses do have a consciousness, and it really started to open my eyes, and it sent me down a rabbit hole of, this was like that first book that really kicked off that catalyst of going, shit, maybe we aren't that exceptional. Maybe there are other things in this world that are worth exploring besides just humanity. And as what I'd done on that particular, up to that point in time on this journey, it brought me to this rabbit hole of, a lot of the books that we've talked about already on this journey: the Botany of Desire, The Secret Lives of Trees, The Entangled Life, I Contain Multitudes, The Hidden Life of Animals, Eager, The Story of the Secret Life of the Beavers, Cooked, Rain, From Bacteria to Back and Back Again, On the Origin of Species, The Omnivore's Dilemma. Yeah, I can go on and on and on at this point in time about all the other books that I was exploring around, like, other creatures in this world and other things and other understanding. I just sent me down this wormhole of going, man, like, we are pretty connected to everybody. What I've learned, I guess, thus far that I was reflecting back on when I was thinking about this book is everybody has a purpose in this world. And I mean everything. Like, even if grass has a purpose, trees have a purpose, every animal, cephalopod, whatever, they all have purposes. The more that we are willing to open our eyes to see that this is all one big interconnected thing going on, I think the more that we're just open to learn and understanding, like, hey, we're special, but we're not that special. Like we're cool, but a lot of other things are cool too. And it just makes you want to go be curious about how we interact with other people and how we play off of their purpose and how we are better because of them. That was what this book really made me think about. So at the end of the day, it was open your eyes to the world around you and start to branch out of just humanity and branch out of what we know, right? But yeah, I'll pause there. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so based on your reflection, I think this is a rooted concept that you and I have been printed in our cornerstone of company is I don't know shit, you don't know shit, we don't know shit. And so there's so many different things we don't know. So many. It's just like you're talking about
Infinite.
you're talking about when James told you about the octopus and saying, "Oh, I don't believe you're a cuckoo kind of guy." And so that's the thing is, when you don't know.
When you told me like 3 months ago that somebody can hold their breath for like how long did you say?
I told
Like,
you 6 minutes as a Navy
I thought
that's minimum you're gonna die.
I actually thought you would die.
Yeah, I think the records is probably more than that. Probably like 3 times that, 18 minutes, 20 minutes at least.
I'll look it up.
Right, but I'm saying is, as far as like the universe is
24
concerned,
minutes.
my point is still that the knowledge of the universe we have maybe stumbled upon and maybe knows just a little fraction, a so small fraction of the total knowledge in the universe. So that means that for me and you, there's nothing that I can tell you that I'm certain. And there's nothing that because there's nothing I can be certain of what's going to happen to me tomorrow or the next hour. That's a given. And that's the thing is people a lot of time thinks about, hey, I'm certain of this, I'm certain of that. And because of that, you lose your flexibility when you have a
curiosity.
Well, you don't have a curiosity, but when you have a certainty, right? Because you say, well, I'm right and you're wrong, right? That's a certainty. You hold on to a certainty that is not a certainty. I mean, that's why I said before in terms of the gut, right? The gut tells you something, and we think, hey, I've experienced this for so many years. I am certain it's going to be this. The thing is, no one knows because the problem is, we have essentially a minute glimpse of the data that the universe has. And even the data we have of the universe is still incomplete because we don't know for sure. And even when we're talking about the gut, right? The gut has the ability to give you some kind of like a sixth sense. Like I felt like the gut is telling me this, if you're telling me that, right? And you have to listen to the omen. And one of the interesting thing about the book about the octopus is that, in the, I guess, the lineage of the tree, right? Meaning that we have a common ancestor like back in the millions of years ago. We had a similar I guess branch of that tree of life, and that tree of life start to split. And then you think about like one of the interesting that I have discovered from reading this book is that the octopus has those brains in their tentacles. Right. It's not. So the thing is, you look at the octopus itself, right? Its complete brain is actually dispersed, decentralized into the head and the tentacles. So that means that even if you chop off half of them, they still have some kind of sensory on the other side is able to make decisions. So one of the things that I thought was interesting is that because we came from the same ancestors, right? That means that even though we predominantly have our brain in our cranium, but to me, we also have a same characteristic as the octopus, meaning we have the brain or the sensory, the nervous system portion, a partial of it, in our gut, in our hands, in our feet. So that means that our gut is actually a second brain, meaning that even though we are completely dominated by the brain that we have, because like let's say it's like 90% versus 10%, you have the other brain that's 10% functional. But I'm thinking like if the octopus has the brain, because octopus it diverge its branch and it divides its brain function equally amongst all those, the one in the central body, the one in the tentacles, right? They have equal footing in terms of the decision making. We as a human being, we diverge to a different branch and we start to centralize our brain inside of our head. right? But that means to me that I think there is residual brains in our other system. And talking about the nervous system, the gut, to me, the
Right.
gut is a brain because
It is for sure.
you may not realize it because, like I said before, it's so dominant in terms of what our brains is doing that we ignore the signal. But when you sense something bad coming, that's your stomach is telling you something's coming,
Right.
right? That means that other brain has a different set of sensory that's able to sense something different than your brain or your conscious would have normally recognized. So to me, that we have some of the residual, the second brains in our gut. It could be in our hands too. Sometimes we can feel it in our bones. I know
Right.
people say, "Hey, I get a chilling feeling on my spine or whatever." So to me, like it may not be as equally equally distributed as the octopus does, but I think we still have some of those common resemblance of our common ancestor of the octopus, meaning that we
Yeah.
have these nervous system and these brains that actually can function and be able to give us the decision that we need. But that's something that I've kind of like took out from this book. But from your reflection title is we don't know shit, meaning that there's so much information that we don't know, and a lot of
Yeah.
times when new information comes in, we are completely
Blown away.
we couldn't even believe that's
Right.
possible. You're talking about, hey, a person can hold their breath for more than 6 minutes, and I'm like, that's not possible. You're
Right.
talking about the guy who broke the 4 minute mile, right? You and I know about that story because
Right.
the story is for the longest time, and people keep saying, hey, based on what we know on our past experience in our scientific studies and our observation, this and that if a human can run under 4 minutes, their body would bust into flame or whatever because that's not physically possible. And that was the limitation. That was the mindset that the society held on, right? And no
Right.
one broke the record until one crazy dude, for whatever reason, didn't read a memo, or for whatever reason, he has the forgetfulness of whatever, and he busts open the quote unquote the doctrine, right? And then, like, within months after he broke that, after like decades of people couldn't pass a 4 minute mile, months after he broke the 4 minute mile, other people broke his record, right?
Right.
So the thing is, a lot of times we have that limitations, and going back to our core concept and the core lesson that we learn is when we say we don't know shit, means that if you take the perspective of you don't know shit, be better off in terms of
Yeah.
making decisions. But if you do hold on to a certainty, whatever certainty that you hold on to, you are limiting yourself from achieving the next thing. Human dies, everything dies, right? And I tell you, I don't believe it. People say I'm a cuckoo head. Everybody believes that human will die. And if I say that is not something that I believe in, then people say, hey, what are you talking about? All of these data, all of these experiences, all of these observations, all of these studies have told everyone since the dawn of time until today that everybody dies.
Well, it's the black swan.
Because the thing is, because everybody believes it, then
Never.
if you believe it, you will be.
Right.
If you tell yourself that you could not pass the 4 minute mile, then you will never do. If you tell yourself that you could not hold your breath for 6 minutes, then you will never hold your for 6 minutes. That's my point. My point is that nothing, nothing, even death is certainty. Because if you accept the certainty, you will live up to that certain limitation. You won't pass it. So for
Right.
me, even the most outrageous claim as everybody dies, I say I don't believe it. I think there is a way for us not to die. Right? And so
I'm,
I'm one of the
that's
crazy
that's
one
what that's
among
what living.
like we have 7 billion people, and every one of us believe that we will die. Therefore, every one of us will die. Until one guy is so idiot to think that we won't, right? And maybe he won't make it. It's a statistic game. But the
Right.
point I'm trying to say is if you believe it, like I said before, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you also,
Right.
because however you think, it's going to be your destination. Is you will abide by your limitation of your mindset. And so when we're talking about we don't know shit, meaning that, hey, I'm not accepting anything. I'm just saying, hey, this is what we know. This is what we're going to work with. And whatever comes in, If new information comes in, I revise my decision.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. I think that's one of the, this is called the Year of Magical Learning for a reason. I think one of the reasons why I love that title is because it is like magic when you discover this stuff, right?
I mean, the thing is, for us,
you know,
we would never even project ourselves to the point where, hey, we're gonna be able to learn this, we learn that. We have no idea. Everything that comes to us is at a complete surprise because who knows that, hey, we have more than one brain. Say, what the hell, right? That, hey, octopus can have like, can think even if you split it in half, it can think, right? It can think. I mean, it can live and think on the other half of the brain because the brain will compensate and will be able to get out of whatever obstacle that you give it. And to me, that's something that not in a million years that I would be able to figure it out on my own.
No,
and
for
so
sure.
If I held on to the principle of, kind of like the knowledge curse or whatever you call it, because you're talking about expert, right? Because expert probably do worse than a monkey just because they are so certain in the way they use things before. So it's a complete bias, confirmation on the directions or
what you're looking for
on the sector of whatever they think they know, and they stays in it because you're talking about, hey, I'm using a scientific method to find out this and that, right? Because you are inside of the paradigm. Because I can tell you, like, for example, I drove down to Florida, with my family, and then the next thing I saw, a bunch of ducks. What do you think about? You think about Donald Duck, Daffy Duck, whatever, right? But I'm talking about the actual ducks, right? That's the thing is when you think hey, he's talking about Disney, so everything got to be inside Disney. This has to be. Who say it has to be? And that's the point is we completely take into this confirmation bias, this realm of expertise, and then we make everything wrong, regardless of whether or not some information is new to us. We say, hey, it got to fit into this paradigm, into this map that we draw for ourselves, right? The map is not accurate if there's new information, and no one told you that it has to be the same map. That's the point.
You find what you're looking for, right? So if you're not open to seeing things you're not looking for like that, then you don't grow, you don't evolve. Yesterday, I was on a flight back from New York City for New Year's Eve. We were descending back through the clouds and looking out the window, and I'm literally wondering, man, I wonder what it was like for the first people that ever flew through the clouds. And then I was wondering, like, what are clouds even there for? Like, why do we need clouds? Like, what would this world look like without clouds? And I was like, well, I guess then we wouldn't have like weather. And if we didn't have weather, then we wouldn't have like water. If we didn't have like water, we wouldn't have like crops, and we wouldn't have agriculture. We wouldn't have like all these other stories. And then I'm like, even clouds have a purpose. Like, cloud, like, what would this world look like if it was a cloudless world? Like, I mean, it would be weird. And then I was like, man, how freaked out was somebody the first time they flew through the clouds? Like, I mean, what did you think was on the other side of that? Like, I'd be like, does it end? It just starts to make you wonder, like, what am I doing? The things that you're interacting with in this world that you just take for granted. Yeah, I don't know.
It's those principles we're talking about before. Is what you see is all there is, right? From the book, think fast and slow. Because it is not. Because you think, hey, the cloud is whatever. Then I look for the cloud, the rainbow. Where's the rainbow end? Where does it start? Where did it end?
Right.
Tell me, where does the rainbow start and where did it end?
No idea.
No one knows. That's the point. Because when you see the rainbow, you clearly see there's stuff from here, it goes over there.
Right.
But when you look for the rainbow, you know where to be found. You look at the cloud, right? I'm flying to this fluffy cloud, right? But I don't see anything. Right. I fly through it, I don't see anything. And that's the point is, if we hold on to certainty, oftentimes we do not find the answer we need. And I can give you an example of these principles that saves, so one of my like specialization is the remedial, like go and fix things and speed up coding and project and whatnot. So I went to a company. They have this project that they couldn't get finished because some kind of issues, right? That particular project has been given to like 5 different teams to do the work in a span of 7 years. They could not fix it until they bring me in for me to fix it. How do I fix it?
You looked at it from a different perspective.
I look at the problem, and basically what I did is I took whatever they thought would work as a certainty, I threw it out. I say, you think this works. Everybody assume this thing is 100% is working. And I say, well, I don't believe it, even though there's no reason for me to doubt you, but I'm going to doubt it anyway. I took that, I threw it out. I put a different solution in like 2 weeks, it's fixed.
Right.
This is what I'm talking about. When you look at the problem from the uncertainty perspective, you will find different ways to solve the problem. If you come in with the same certainty, the scientific method is flawless, or this is flawless, or whatever, you take it and you make the assumption this is always work, then you're going to have the issue. You can never fix it. I'm not saying that I'm smarter than anyone. I'm just saying, hey, the perspective.
You're dumber, like, which is good, like, because that is the right mentality. You're like, I don't understand, I haven't seen this, I don't know, like, I'm just gonna completely, it's the beginner's mind.
The thing is, the problem, like, and I've done this like multiple times, not just once, but multiple times, like everybody's, because I'm talking about like to the point where like one of the company in the oil field, like they only hire PhDs. I don't have a PhD or a master. Like they won't even take like no one with a bachelor, right? But I'm the only one that they can bring me in as a specialist to fix the thing they couldn't fix, because no one else, everybody else has come before me has failed. So that's why they say, well, this guy he thinks he knows, let him give him a shot. Right? Give me a shot, I fixed it. Because that's the thing, is they think they know. Because for the past decade, whatever they use has worked. They never thought that thing has changed, right? But for me, I don't know shit. So I'm going to say, well, why are you keep using this thing? Well, I question everything, regardless of whether, because I'm not the PhD. So I don't say, hey, let's say you're talking about like, the Newton laws of, mass could neither be created or destroyed. You took that law as Newton law, and it has survived for 100 years. And then Einstein comes in and say, well, if E equals mc squared defies that law, then I'm going to scratch it. That's not a solution. If Einstein took that law, then there's no way that he wouldn't say E equals mc squared is a valid formula.
There was something I read, Stephen Hawking's book, Brief History of Time or whatever. There was something that he always would say, there's an assumption that physicists make. I forget what he called it, but every time I heard that, I was like, oh, that law is going to be broken someday. Well, guaranteed. At some point in time, that law will be modified and broken. Like, you can't assume anything. Who would have assumed that Octopus could have the same kind of cognitive abilities to think thoughts about thoughts or something like that we have? I would have never assumed that. If anything, what I did assume before this whole journey was that we were the only people that had consciousness, like the only beings that had consciousness in this planet, right? Like, I mean, I assumed like that was it, right? I've never seen anything like that. I've never heard of anything like that. I've never encountered anything like that.
But
like,
doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
That's the thing,
right?
is
like,
my philosophy is you cannot prove anything. You can only disprove it. You cannot prove anything. Law is universal. You're talking about laws of gravity, right? You say, well, law of gravity. It's because you're on gravity. You're inside of the system. How can you turn off gravity, for example? So any law that we make is never, we accept it at the moment because we haven't found the other scenario that will actually debunk that, right? And so when you took into that account, right, you have the ability to say, okay, if I were to go onto this crazy tangent, then maybe I continue to explore. But if you're talking about, for example, E equals mc squared, if Einstein arrived at this equation, he said, well, this is wrong. I'm going to stop doing it. I don't want to be a crazy guy. I don't want to be like this nutcase. I'm going to throw it away because it obviously violates the Newton's third law. Therefore, you go back to what I'm saying is, okay, everybody believes that humans die. Everything died. And if I were one of those guys who does not, right, if I stumble onto something, I'm going to continue to explore. Right? Actually, my chance of finding is better than you because you have zero chance. I have 0.001%. You have zero chance because you stopped. My chance is more than you, infinitely more than you, because I'm crazy. I refuse to accept that. So I can, even if I come up with a solution, right? I don't use the fact that you tell me that it's certain that everybody dies. If I accept that, then I will stop going. There's no point in continuing to explore something that if I accept and believe certainly that everybody's going to die. But if I don't believe in it, then I will continue to say, well, I don't believe in it. Therefore, I'm going to explore and see what happens. If he believes in that rule, therefore, whatever he come up with, he said, well, I've got to be missing something. It doesn't work. I throw it away. Therefore, we would not have the E equal MC square formula.
Well, I mean, not only that, like, I'm sure he's wrong too. Like, I'm sure I'm 100. You know, if there's anything that I'm sure of with E equals MC squared,
there's nothing you sure of.
There's not. I'm sure that he's probably not right.
The point is, I think, kind of summarize what we're trying to say in terms of the reflection and the lesson that we can take from this. Because not only that, because like I said before, in my line of work, my job is to fix things that no one can fix.
Right.
And taking from this beginner's mind, quote unquote, the I don't know shit perspective, it gives you more options.
That's
because
that'd be a way better book. If the Zen should write I don't know shit instead of beginner's mind. Like, you should just write a book that's like I don't know shit methodology. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right, because I'm talking about, like, when you don't know shit, you will take what?
In Rutgers, I swear to God, man, they're Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying that, when you are with the perspective of you don't know shit, right? You weight the most absurd solution as equal to the most probable, like you, right, in your mind. Because if you are sane and you think, hey, this thing has 0 chance or 0.1 chance of being even like remote, you start to discard it. You discard a solution that is the correct solution. Right. The problem is that you are going to discard the correct solution way too early if you make the assumption that you know. But if you don't take the assumption that you know shit, right? Therefore, all of the data point has equal validity among the others. Because that's what I'm saying is when you're talking about, hey, I receive a bunch of different data points, which data point is not correct. This is what people do. They say, well, this one is clustered in here, so anything's outside of that, I'm going to discard it.
Yeah, I mean,
so if you discard, the solution you discard would have been a correct solution.
Most likely, everything that we're talking about in this journey is probably wrong. So, and that's okay. The last year, Purdue was #1 in the country, played Rutgers and lost on a last-second shot, and lost their #1 ranking. And this year, they just lost their first game of the season as the #1 team in the country to Rutgers on a last-second shot. That's whatever. They're so good. It's fine. I'll get over it. Not a big deal. Moving on. But if anybody doesn't know, Purdue's my alma mater, and we love basketball here in Indiana, so it's a big deal. Basketball is a big deal in Indiana. But anyway,
where's Indy?
Right. Exactly. It's basketball. Well, this is a basketball state without a doubt. But anyway, no, I think one of the coolest things about this whole entire project is we're not there's 2 things that I love about this. Is first one, I think we know that we're wrong with most of the stuff that we talk about. We're evolving and we're finding our way through it. When I read this book, this was almost 2.5 years ago now, and what I think of from this book, from where I've learned since then, it's a whole nother incredible journey, and I don't even know, this thing is going to continue on and on and on. So the journey is the fun part about all this stuff. What I learned with this was just one tiny little puzzle piece in the whole big puzzle that I don't even know if there is a puzzle, I don't know what we're actually putting together. But the second thing that I love about this is what we've kind of found is the secret sauce for us has been, live your values. Because there is no right way to live your values. There is no wrong way to live your values. It is literally an open-ended system at that point in time. So if there's anything that I should know in this universe, it is myself, and I should know what makes me feel energized or not energized, right? That I should know. That should be the only thing that I know in this entire universe, right? Is how I feel and how I interact with the world. So therefore, while we may be wrong about everything that we talk about in this whole journey, the one thing that I'm pretty damn sure that I'm 100% right about is how I feel and how my values guide me every single day through this changing evolution. And that's the really cool thing about this whole journey is while we can say we don't know anything, we also know a lot about ourselves through this journey, and we're still evolving that. But over your lifetime, you will solidify. If you don't know yourself by the time you leave this earth, that's a shame. I feel awful for you if you don't leave this world knowing what did True like and care about, and how to, and able to do those stuff that you care about, or a beaver, or whatever, all the other things that we talk about, right? If you ever left this earth not knowing what was important to you, not to everybody else, just to you, that's a shame. But Everything else, it's open season. Just go figure it out because you probably don't know anything. Like, I guarantee you, I don't know what the purpose of a tree is. And I guarantee you, I don't know how they feel or whatever you want to label them as. I don't know what that entity, life form feels, right? Like, I don't know what energizes them or does not energize them. I can guess, but it's just a guess, But for me, it's not a guess. I know it.
I mean, that's the point, though. When we're talking about the not knowing, I don't know shit, right? It's not as simple as you think it is. I don't know shit about anything.
Oh.
The only thing I can rely on is how I feel about things. And that's what I'm saying is we're talking about the lineless track. I don't know where it's going to lead, but I know that it feels right.
Right.
That's what we mean, right? So it's more profound than just the sheer meaning of the word, I don't know shit. I don't know shit about anything else, but I know something about how I feel about this.
Right.
And the point is, because you don't know shit about anything else, there's no certainty. There's no destination for you to say, hey, I need to be there at this time, at this place, whatever. Are you happy in this environment, right? Are you following the track and the track feels right to you? It isn't about, okay, I know where the track leads and I know where it's going to end. That thing is, we don't know shit. But regardless, right? Meaning that we don't know what the future holds for us. Therefore, we need to focus more of our attentions and effort on the things that we can feel, detect whether or not we're on the right path or on the wrong path. Because, for example, I hold my breath, it doesn't feel good. Therefore, I know, hey, that's not the right way. Then I need to breathe, right? So for me, like as a human being, I need to breathe. As a tree, it needs to consume sunlight and photosynthesis and carbon dioxide. As piece of rock, it does something else, right? It doesn't need to breathe air. But for me, as a human being, I need to breathe air. Therefore, I only know if I stop breathing, then I know I'm in the wrong track. If I continue to breathe and I don't feel pain, I don't feel the negative feelings that, from my perspective, it's not from your perspective. Like I say, a guy could be in a wheelchair and be happy. If you put me in a wheelchair, I won't be happy, even though it takes less effort. Put in a wheelchair, but for me, it's like I don't want to be a donkey in the shed. I want to go out there and exert my energy to jump up and get up and down the field, the plane, whatever, right? I want to be out. I don't want to be the donkey in the shed. And so that to me is, from my perspective, the negatives and the positive of my emotion determines whether or not I'm on the right path. That's all I can rely on. I can't rely on the certainty of anything.
But for that, you do know, like, if it's you.
Because that's what you made. Because when you express something that you have,
it feels right or it doesn't, right?
You have the emotions, and it will tell you whether it's negative or positive.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, that's the coolest part about this whole journey is, like, while you don't know anything about anything else, ask a million questions and always be curious. You should also be curious and ask a lot of questions, but slowly over time, you do know yourself. And if you don't, then you're not doing something right. That questioning, that evolution, that understanding of yourself, your emotions, what feels good, what doesn't, what aligns, what doesn't, that evolution is, that knowledge growth does lead to somewhere because it's you. Only you can determine that. If you're not right about yourself, then there's no way that anybody else is going to be right about yourself.
Give a shit about yourself, about you. They want to give a shit about themselves.
Right.
That's the point. It's only based on your perspectives.
Exactly.
It's your perspective whether it's right or wrong. I don't think the right or wrong is a universal thing. It's a perspective.
Of you.
Perspective. Sure. Everything comes down to your perspective. How is it relative to you? You have to know, because you are the only point of reference that matter.
Right.
And no one else is going to give a shit about you.
And this is when it goes down to our other favorite quote of, if you don't bring forth what's inside of you, what you don't bring forth will destroy you, or vice versa. It'll save you.
It's just saying, you put a donkey in a shed, he'll die. He has the thing inside of him. He needs to get out and bounce and gallop and whatever. And you tell him not to bring forth what's inside of him, or he'll die. But if he's dying and you tell him to go out and gallop and be what he's supposed to be in from inside, then he'll survive, right? That's the meaning of what you just said. If you don't bring forth what's inside of you, it will kill you. But if you bring forth what's inside of you, it will save you.
And then for everything else, just ask a lot of questions. Everything else in this world is subject to curiosity, questioning, And
it's always subject to questions. It's
right.
always anything, even the thing that you think is certainty. Right?
It's
To me, like people, man, think about
fish
it.
don't exist, right?
I'm making this outrageous claim here. Like everybody died, and I say no, I refuse to believe that.
I don't
I
know
could
what that
be
is.
I
Nobody
could
knows
be
what it is.
the cuckoo guy, right? That doesn't believe in the mortality of human beings. I refuse to believe it. I say, hey, that gotta be way. It's a rare needle in a huge haystack, but I believe it's there. When
Sure.
I believe it's there, I will continue to search. My search could be in vain, but that doesn't mean that because if I believe there isn't, then my fate is sealed.
Yeah. I mean,
And that's what we want to say to you is questions everything, even the one that has been proven for eons and millions of years and whatever. Question it anyway.
sure. I mean, 100% agree with that. Like, that's the meaning of we don't know anything. I can guarantee you everything that we think we know about this world right now and in 2023, fast forward to 46, I guarantee you everything that we thought we know, if assuming humanity is still around and we've continued to evolve, everything that we did think we knew right now, probably we didn't. like hell, you remember Why Fish Don't Exist? That book, that was early on in this journey. That only took 100 years for us to say that fish don't exist. Things that you would wake up every day and you're like, I just ate fish for lunch. And then 100 years later, like, no, you didn't just eat fish for lunch. You ate what? I don't know. What the fuck did I eat? I don't know. I don't care. I don't know. We can call it whatever.
It's called pie, whatever.
Exactly. That's the sweet now. I don't know. I mean, shit. I guess the bottom line, I guess moral for me, the final thought for me is like the best part about this whole journey is knowing yourself 100%, like where you are you are locked in on what you care about and and knowing yourself and going down that path. The other half of it is you don't know anything about anything and continue to explore that because it'll feed the other side of it, to help you to understand yourself even more, right? Like
it's a spiral. It's a spiral. If you take the perspective, I don't know anything, then you're gonna ask questions. Because if you say, hey, I know this is not possible, then you stop asking questions. I guarantee you, this is how our brains works.
Yeah.
If you tell yourself that I cannot run a 40-minute mile, then you won't. I guarantee you that. If you tell yourself that I cannot survive this concentration camp, then you won't.
If I tell myself my daughter's not here, she's not. I mean, like
exactly. You decide that. That's actively your brain's going to do exactly what you want it to do.
I got to finish on this really positive note. So this is from my wife's cousin. Her name's Lauren. I don't really know Lauren a ton. I mean, I've met her many times in my wife and I's life together. So this is a message. A few months ago, she decided to pick up Amelia's book and about Amelia. And she just sent me this message out of the blue saying I read it in like 2 days and it was like, it's changed my life. Fast forward like a month and a half later, out of the blue yesterday, I'm getting ready to board a flight and I get this message from her saying, Happy New Year. My husband, she just got married. She was like, so weird to say my husband. We decided we wanted to start a book club in 2023 inspired by Amelia. This month's book is going to be Thinking Fast and Slow. She and her story have really changed my world and the world in general. We could have never done this or this book club or picked the first book were it not for y'all's story. The book club may seem small, but it's something really significant to me. So like I wanted to share that. And then also, Friday when I took my team out for dinner, I ended up having drinks at midnight or something like that at a bar. And in this bar, we ended up talking about purpose and pain. They were asking me questions because they've been following along with this journey. They read these blogs. They ask me about it. They ping me and they're like, wanting to be curious about some of these things. They were just peppering me with questions about purpose. I'm not even joking. And I was like, it made me stop and think and look around like, Amelia's here. The name Amelia was said 100 times,
it's going
in that bar.
Amelia, as long as the Amelia Tower survived.
Right.
And
exactly.
Amelia Tower is actually a company. You think about it, right?
No,
because to me, like I say, you are her father. I am not. I can only got to know her through your experience.
Right.
And even for me, the central core of what I look at in company is Amelia. Because she, for whatever reason, have created this inspiration, the core of what we look at in terms of what his company is all about. You think about it, she is the one that sparks you to go into this journey. Right. And you happen to found me in a similar state. And we have been whisked by the cyclone of this Amelia rubble that has been completely uplifted. So company is going to last. Amelia's name gonna last even.
Exactly. And to kind of bring that full circle to what we were just talking about before, when I gave you that example, is as long as we believe that, it is true. Like, and that's something that we have the power to change or not change. Like, I'm never going to change that. So I can tell you right now, that is never going to change for the rest of my life. That is purpose, right? This is what I'm saying. I do know shit about me. I do know shit about what I believe and what I want to believe that makes me feel good, right? I believe that my daughter is here. And I also believe that my daughter can help change other people's lives by sharing her story and how she's changed me and how she continues to help me, live a better
Right, because the thing is, it's the
take her around,
manifestation, right? Because
Right.
it's a manifestation is you have to talk about this. I, for whatever reason, has to talk about this. I don't know why, but I just get energized when I'm talking about this, right? This is called manifestation. Whatever we are created as is a combinations of and the patterns of DNA. The donkey have the capacity and the faculty to go out there and jump out on the plane and do whatever in the field, run fast, do crazy stuff.
Right.
He don't want to be in the shed, be sheltered from the elements, and be protected from the wolves and the pests and the flies and the fleas and the whatever, the bugs. He wants to go out there and be free. That's his DNA, his core being. We need to manifest ourselves based on our own DNA, our combinations of what our trait and physical characteristic contains. And when we do that, we feel energized. You think about a donkey getting to gallop in the open field, right? He's energized. He, for whatever reason, he's had energy. But if you put him to the shed, he feels weak. He doesn't exert any energy. Where did energy go? But when he goes out there and then spend the energy, he gets stronger. He goes faster. He's happier. He expands the energy, but then he has more energy. So tell me where the logic is. That's what I'm saying is we manifesting this thing that we are, quote unquote, company, right? For whatever reason, energizes us. It gives us more energy. We're more pumped after we, when we talk about this. We can't wait until we talk about this. And we're doing this for what? 2.5 years.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, think about like 2,000 years from now, right? Like that's the 7th generation committee. That's why we do the 7th generation committee, Because
I told you before, an outrageous claim. I mean, I don't know if anyone can make even more outrageous claim than I just did. Yeah. Human beings is supposed to die. We can be immortal.
What was the book? It's called the Gilgamesh Project. Oh, that was what it was. Yuval Noah Harari in *Sapiens*. He talks about the Gilgamesh Project, which is exactly what you're talking about. It's the project for quest for immortality, or at least a greater longevity.
But that's what I'm saying is when you say 2,000 years, you start to dial back. And I say, well, lessons learned, Chris, lessons. Do you believe or you don't? Yeah, do you believe, right? If you believe, don't dial back for your quote unquote, your humanity's, like, what do you call it? The bias. Right. You're biased towards the humanity's common belief. Hey, it won't last 500 years, won't last 2,000 years, right? That's common belief, right? You are biased because you're inside of that paradigm. Because you're inside that paradigm, you always say, hey, well, that's too outside of its, rim of possibility, so I got to move back in, right?
You just made me laugh thinking somebody's watching this, 2 million years down the road, and they just heard me bitch about Purdue losing to Rutgers, and they're going to be like, what the fuck was Purdue? Like in Rutgers? Like, what is he talking about? Like,
basketball.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like, don't limit yourself. I said this before. Don't limit your mindset. Because I'm saying, like, we tend to want to kind of conform to certain paradigm we think is a paradigm we should be in. If you do that, you're limiting yourself. Don't limit yourself.
Great. I love it. It's a good way to end. So the question we can ask you all is, what do you see and feel when you look at other life forms around you? What questions does it generate? Thanks for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow.
And a second exciting episode of the year.